Okay, today we are going to learn how to easily guess or estimate the non-perfect squares. So we're going to start at the top, make sure everybody can see it, and we're looking at the square root of 5. Okay, we're going to go back in and go back out. There we go. Square root of 5. So the first thing that we need to do is consult whatever you need to consult to figure out what the two perfect squares are next to them. If you're in the classroom, then you can look at the multiplication chart and look at the diagonal numbers across the multiplication chart. Those would be where you would find the perfect squares because it makes a square on the multiplication chart by finding its roots. But since I have done this enough time, I know that this is between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9, okay? So in order to estimate, we need to remember that that is 2 and 3. With it being 2 and 3, I need to figure out which one it's closest to. Okay. Okay, on the table. So my brain pictures a little number line that is all the square roots. Square root of 4, square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7, thank you, square root of 8, square root of 9. And then I try to figure out where that would be. So my square root of 5 is a lot closer to my square root of 4. So just like picturing on the number line, my decimal should be closer to 4.0 than, I'm sorry, this is 2. Square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. So if you're thinking mathematically, this square root of 5 is closer to 2. So I'm going to guess 2.1. Is that exactly perfect? No, but it's close enough. All right, let's try the square root of 8. Again, refer to your multiplication chart to find your perfect squares, and that would be between the square root of 4 and the square root of 9 again. So if I did that number line, 2 is the square root of 4, 3 is the square root of 9. Then I will try to, let's see, I've got 5 in the middle, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this would be square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7, square root of 8. See, I still did that. I wish I could make my number line look better. But let's try it. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Square root of 5, square root of 6, square root of 7, square root of 8. So therefore the square root of 8 is closer to 9. So in this case, I'm going to guess 2.8. It's close enough guess. I'll be able to look around and see if that is correct. Let's go to the next number, square root of 25. I'm going to figure out the two perfect squares by utilizing whatever strategy you want to. Since I have been dealing with square roots a lot, I know that it's the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. Now, my brain is picturing the number that's between them. So the difference between these two numbers is 4, and the difference between these two numbers is 7. So that means it's closer to 25. But the difference isn't that big, right? So if I were to do a number line, I would have 7 spaces away from 36, and I would have 4 spaces away from 29. So it's obviously closer to 25, but the middle is about 5, is about 30. So my reason for figuring out how to guess that it's closer, is because it's closer to that middle. It's got more spaces. I should not try to write and walk at the same time. So that's 5 and 6. So I'm going to guess 5.4. It's not exactly the middle because these two numbers aren't equal, but they're close to equal. So let's see if I can find one. Well, this example is not going to be it. So my two perfect squares again are 25 and square root of 36. Okay, those two numbers are 5 and 6. The square root difference is 34 minus 25, so spaces here would be 9. These two, the difference is 36 minus 34 is 2. So as you can tell, it is definitely closer to 36 because there's only 2 spaces. So that means I'm going to guess a number closer to 6 with the decimal. But it can't be 6 because it hasn't made it to 6. So I'm going to guess like 5.8. The other thing that might help you is if you think about it like this, think of it as 50 and 60. Maybe it's closer that way. I'm not going to do a whole bunch, but I'll go ahead and try one more. Square root of 51. So use your number line, use your multiplication chart, use whatever you want. This means it is between square root of 7, undo the square root of 49, which is 7, and the square root of 8, which is 64. I'm going to find the difference between these two numbers under the radicand. 49, 50, 51. So that is a difference of 2. This one has a difference of 51 minus 64, 13. So I can tell that it is closer to 7. It's only 2 spaces away. So that means it is closer to 7.0 than it is 8.0. So I'm looking at this as 70 and 80 just so that my brain can process it. So I will guess 7.1. All right, you guys are going to give it a try. Then you can come back and check and see if your answers are correct. All right, 72 is between the square root of 8, which is 64, and the square root of 9, which is 81. So the difference between these two is 6. The difference between these two is 9. So it is closer to the 8. Okay, since it's closer to the 8, that means those two numbers are fairly close. So since they're closer to each other, like 6 and 9, there's not much difference between those two numbers. I'm going to guess maybe 8.4. If you didn't get exactly that, but you got close to that, you understand that it's not 8.1 and it's not 8.9. It's somewhere in the middle. That's good. Okay, we'll do the square root of 99. That would be between the square root of 100, which is 10, and the square root of 81, which is 9. The difference here is 18. The difference here is 1. So it is obviously closer to this, but it hasn't quite made it to 10. So because it hasn't quite made it to 10, it has to be smaller than 10, but just barely smaller than 10. So we'll make it 9.9. Okay, this is going to be between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25, which is 4 and 5. This is a difference of 1 space. This is a difference of 8 spaces. So it is closer to 4, very close to 4, so 4.1. All right, hopefully you've got it figured out and you guys can give a try to the rest of them. But if there are specific questions, make sure that you raise your hand and ask.